Welcome back. Anglo has prevailed, although perhaps not as unbruised as it would like from its near-death encounter with BHP Group. So what now for both companies? So BHP's walked away. They had their time, they walked away. They can come back. I think it's 6 months, the city laws say, city rules.
I did warn you that something of this nature was going to happen with Elliott in the mix. So Elliott is winning so far. 1 for Elliott, almost 2 for Elliott. It's interesting. This is what is happening, but because they've expressed, that they want to unbundle De Beers, Botswana government is getting excited. They like do it today. So there's
they
pressure.
Want the current valuation, which is we made 4 diamonds profit.
Exactly. It benefits them. That's why they're forcing them to do it now.
Your big danger is you're taking out the cash flow from Anglos.
Yep.
That's how they lived. They would take big dividends from Anglo Platts, they would take the dividends from Kumba and all those other subsidiaries, the coal companies.
Which they're all unbundling.
They're all unbundling. I just, it'll only play out 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line. I think Anglo's is going to shrink.
Does somebody else come?
Yeah, I feel like if you're putting it that way, it makes them vulnerable to another attack. Well, takeover attempt. Sorry.
The vulnerability is when they're weak. When they're looking for money, someone will come and say, okay,
so a couple of years after
we come, instead of doing this deal. Remember Murray and Roberts?
I'd forgotten about that.
Well, speaking of existential crises, Pick n Pay is having it all. Losses, a new identity in the works, self-amputation, and a cold new world of jostling shareholders. Mind you, Woolies ain't having it so great either, but trust Sean Summers to pitch it sweetly.
I think that the very positive aspect is that the family is still the largest shareholder in Pick n Pay. So they have forgone outright control, but they are still a very, very large, or the largest shareholder in Pick n Pay. The fact that they are putting up to R1 billion back into the business and following their rights is a huge faith that's been shown in the leadership and the management and the future of Pick n Pay. So it's a very, very positive move from their perspective.
And for the company, right?
Yeah, so Sean Summers was, had gained his youthfulness when he left. Pick n Pay is back 2 weeks in and he's
looking
an old man, okay? Man, stress of Pick n Pay, that's what it's going to do to you.
So we need to touch on Pick n Pay. It is a closing of an era, them being gone. I mean, if they...
How many years?
60 years. But if they didn't pony up their billion, there's the other side of the coin is maybe the other shareholder, like if the Ackermans didn't come with the billion, maybe they were short $1 billion, like maybe their hand got squeezed.
I think they had no alternative. I mean, they have lost an absolute...
It's either that or you lose everything.
But this is a business school story.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think there's no doubt that they influenced a lot of decisions, the Ackerman family.
Yeah.
With so many kids on the board. And they control the CEO and they control the chairman. And those are the main people who sit around the board. So I think the influence had to go. I just find it, we've had Spar, we've had Pick n Pay, we've had Massmart or Walmart, all of these companies.
And then Woolies.
We thought we were good grocers. We're not. We're
not
not great grocers,
But and then let's touch on Woolies, because I mean their food is, as always, good. They bring in this fancy American with a pair of jeans to run the clothing business.
South African, ex-American,
ex-Levi's,
ex-Levi. But it turns out it's same old with clothing at Woolies.
Yeah, and I mean, when is David Jones actually going to leave Woolies fully so we can actually see their numbers for what they are?
Really not.
So it's confusing because, I mean...
Well, even when I was in Australia, I looked at Country Road. Okay.
Even that didn't do well.
No, I know, but when you look at what they offer, there's nothing spectacular there. You've got to be a, Shein. You've got to be a Temu, you've got to be an H&M, you've got to be... a Uniqlo, those are the companies that are great.
So you have to take your trends from TikTok.
Yes, exactly. Okay. You're right. Have a look at LVMH. They got Pharrell Williams. What's it? Pharrell.
Woolies had Pharrell Williams at one point. for about a week.
Yeah, well,
Although
he's
But they left him.
It didn't quite make it.
But you notice no one mentions Pick and Pay clothing here, which is apparently where Mr. McCurry buys his clothes.
That's actually where it's at too.
And where a lot of mothers buy clothes for their small children.
Their sleepwear is the best in SA, by the way.
Wayne, the leader of fashion, dedicated
Follower of fashion.
Meanwhile, Tiger Brands, as far as we can tell, is in for a long, hard slog. So why the dividend bump?
A couple of our businesses, home care, personal care, snacks and treats, the export business, TPI, has actually performed quite well. And we've struggled in our grains business, which includes our bakery business, probably the major business where we have really struggled in the past 6 months with not so much market conditions, but rather we have to go into a turnaround strategy to turn the business around. We've got too many internal problems in the business, and our big goal there is to address all of those and turn those business around.
I just want to remind viewers that this was the company that did price fixing in bread and fired the CEO and then bought him back. Of course, they've got internal problems. Makes me quite clear about it.
I like Chart. He's Sean Summers on steroids. He's really strong, and I like what he's doing. He's just breaking down every procedure within the business and say, should we use this? Do we still need these peanuts? Could we use these? That kind of approach, which I think is.
Are you buying the shape?
No.
They'll do better. I don't.
I don't think they'll do better. The problem with a company like FMCG companies in general, the big ones have, a research and development lab where they try new things and work on sensory and improve the taste of the food or whatever.
Mr. Nestle, of course, yeah.
In South Africa, that doesn't happen. So without, R&D and just focusing on cost controlling, and eventually you're going to die. At some point, you have to bring something new to the market. And what we've seen, the newest thing that we've seen that has come from the FMCG companies here in South Africa was tinned chicken that we spoke about last week. That is not innovation. I'm sorry. So try something better.
That people want it. Rankles, really.
Nah, you can't give us.
It's upset Bright more than it should have.
More than it should have. Well, there were a couple of disappointments this week. Barloworld included a whole 4 days ago, if you can remember that. The company, it seems, is licking its wounds after the Ingrain purchase and possibly ruining the day it went out and splashed the cash.
In terms of inorganic growth, you're talking to people all the time.
Yeah.
Because there are certain opportunities that you're seeking. There are those that are coming to you whether you want them or not, and you review them. What you don't want is your M&A team to be sitting on their hands on one side. But I think a lot of people don't quite understand that organic growth is the most value accretive growth you can get because you're not likely to overpay for it.
Remember the problem with Ingrain? They didn't want it during COVID.
Yes, and then they had to have it.
Now they don't want it again.
I've forgotten that.
Didn't you remember? They were forced. They tried to get away.
Ouch. But it'll force Systems go for its former division, Zeda, the car, not the agri, which has proven more than one doubter wrong.
We have looked at the short-term rental business and we look at what will be most appropriate. But when you look at the leasing business, leasing generate great return. And really, what is our business? Our business is to raise funding, to deploy it and make better money out of that funding. So really, we're not raising debt to buy capital infrastructure. We're raising debt to make money out of it. And I mean, we've generated 59% EBITDA margin out of that business. And, we're sitting comfortably and we believe, yes, the interest rate cycle, like all the other cycle, will come down. And when it does, it even becomes better.
I like her.
I like her. She's a rock star.
She is a rock star. But what I loved was they had a shareholder loyalty dividend. They called it 50 cents.
Yeah, no, I like it. I'd take that. I mean, she spoke about it, rentals and leasing doing exceptionally well, but obviously the second-hand car market not doing all that well.
But again,
we spoke about that with We Buy Cars.
We buy now.
Yeah, so that's still, up in the air. But the business is cash generative. Yeah, earnings are down 12.5% or whatever, but I like the business. It's well run.
And finally, if you're considering a stag party in the Costa Brava this year, can you please keep it tidy? A popular resort town on the Spanish coast has, in desperation, banned inflatable penis costumes and sex dolls from stag and hen night celebrations with fines of up to 1,500 euros. The last straw, it seems, was a groom strapped to a lamppost with gaffer tape while his companions kept neighbours awake, playing loud music and singing into the early hours. Stay classy, people.
Hey, look, inflatable penis costumes should just be banned. Ain't no one wants.
No one want one of those.
What country is this? It sounds pretty exciting because this is the news.
Spanish Costa Brava.
Spanish Costa Brava. Book your tickets. And that's where we leave it. David Bryce, thanks for joining us. Have a good evening and a great weekend.